Hey, everybody. How's it going? Welcome to the Laravel News Podcast, episode 227. Today is November 26th, 2024. Glad to have you hanging out with us, and glad that Michael finally figured out his microphone. He wrote it down this time, how to make it work. And so we should hopefully not have a problem with it. Yes, in the future. It is almost Thanksgiving Day here in the U.S., almost Turkey Day. I am in the Eastern time zone right now because I happen to be visiting family in Ohio. If you're watching the stream on YouTube, you'll see my surroundings are different. However, I should turn the camera and show you that there is a birthday banner immediately to my right because it is one of the kids' 11th birthday. So it feels very much like home, where I always have a birthday banner behind me. So
I had to move
birthday presents. Yeah,
I thought for sure you'd be like going into the Wizard of Oz or something through that banner.
Yeah, no. So anyway, all the kids are going to see Wicked tomorrow, though. That'll be fun. Nice. Yeah, pretty cool. So
yeah, we're going to see it next Friday, but I've heard lots of good things from
people I have too.
Now, so
I have too. We went to see the Broadway.
The algorithms
are
always in alignment when this stuff happens. So I've been hearing
sure.
Popular and Defying Gravity popping up everywhere in the last week or so.
Yeah, it should be really good. I'm super excited. I think that the Broadway production was absolutely insane. So cool. If you haven't had a chance to see it, definitely go see it next time it's around. But the movie looks really good too. So yeah, I'm excited. I think it'll be a classic for sure. So yeah, we're hanging out here for the next couple of days and doing some remote work stuff, getting some stuff done, and it's been good. It's been good. How have you been?
Yeah, going well. I think I've finally recovered from Laracon, and we just planning to send out the Laracon Wrapped. We did some Laracon Wrapped videos this year.
Oh, cool.
Which
That'll
is
be great.
Something a little bit different because we had the app at the center of our networking adventures this year. So lots of photos for people to look back on and enjoy. So
one more kick in the nostalgia, right?
Mm-hmm.
One more kick in the FOMO for all the rest of us who couldn't be there. Just got to make sure you twist that knife.
All the videos are out now. All of the photos are out. So we'll be sending out all of that stuff by the time people hear this episode, actually.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, shall we get into it, my friend?
Yeah. Thank you to our friends at Sentry.
Indeed. Sponsoring this episode.
Sentry.
Again,
sponsoring this episode, sponsoring all kinds of weird and wonderful things. If you follow the Terminal Coffee people, they're putting out some
are they doing Sentry
videos.
Coffee now?
Yeah. Some interesting videos around the place. So check
all right,
those out.
I'll check them out. I will have to do so. Yeah. Well, we are on to releases. Let's get started with Laravel 11.31, which was released the week of November 12th. It includes dynamic cache database, mail builders, a cache token repository, a URL force HTTPS convenience method, and more. Let's talk about the cache token repository first. So Andrew Brown, no stranger to the Laravel ecosystem, been around for quite some time, contributed a cache token repository. And this is an alternative way to store password reset tokens. So here's the description of the PR. It proposes a new cache token repository, which will allow the password reset tokens to be handled via cache. So in my opinion, cache is a perfect storage mechanism for this because it can be more ephemeral, just like those password reset tokens. They only live for a certain period of time. Once they've been visited, they're gone, right? So to enable this new cache token repository, all you have to do is adjust your config auth.php so that you now have the new cache driver set as the driver for passwords for users or for customers, whatever. It's specified in here, but basically all you have to do there is set the driver to cache there for that. So it should be simple. You can see details for that in pull request 53.428. Don't know if that's actually in the documentation yet, but you can see it in the pull request there. Pretty cool. Thank you, Andrew Brown. Dynamically building mailers on demand. So Steve Bauman contributed the ability to dynamically build a mailer and then send it using the mail build method. So this allows developers to create mailers that are based on a given configuration rather than being hard-coded in the config files, right? So if you need to build something up dynamically and you don't want to have it stored over there, you can just build it in the place where you're doing it. I can see this being useful. in a couple of different instances. I actually think this would be a really interesting thing if you had something like a file system build, like if you had an equivalent version of this for file system, because we happen to deal with a lot of different file systems, right? So if you could build that out dynamically and then use that disk, that'd be great. This is essentially what we're talking about with mail, build, and then you can pass in the entire configuration. So your transport, your host, your port, your encryption, username, password, timeout, etc. And then you just call send on that mailer, passing in your mailable as an argument. So you can build those mailers on demand. Pretty cool. Pull request 53411 for that one. Similar to the mail build, Steve also contributed the DB build to dynamically create new database connections that are not defined in your configuration file. Same thing, right? You have a dynamically built database connection by just passing in the configuration values. So same thing. I don't think I really need to continue to explain that, but DB build, and then an array of configuration options there. And then lastly, a cache build, also by Steve Bauman, same deal. You can build out the cache repositories on demand using that cache build method. So we see this happen, right? There's a good idea that's introduced into the framework, and then you see it sort of spread like a virus all throughout the entire application, right? We saw this recently with enums, right? I say virus as it's like a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. I don't mean it that way. I just mean that like over time, these things end up getting built out. So what I had said just a minute ago, it would be cool if we saw this for like the store or, file systems. I bet you that will probably come in the near future, right? You could totally see that on the horizon there. So very cool. Thank you, Steve, for creating all those. I can see those being really useful for situations where you don't necessarily want to build it out in the config, but you need to be able to initialize those. Pretty neat. Okay. Batch and chain on queue methods accepting backed enums. Wouldn't you know it? Philip Leslie contributed the ability to use backed enumerations with the onQueue method of a bus chain. So no longer do you have to chain on the arrow value. You just pass in the enum and it will take care of getting that for you. Very nice. Remove deferred services method. Ollie Reed contributed this method to remove a deferred service from the application container. So before, what you would have had to do is you'd have to get the deferred service out of the application, out of the container, and then you'd have to unset those values manually, which is not fun, right? And then after, you just call app, remove deferred services, and then pass in the value that it's bound to the container with. That's it. And then it will take it out. Now, it's not a super common use case, right? But this complements a couple different other things nicely. You can see some suggestions, I suppose, or examples for when you could use this inside of that pull request number 53362, remove deferred services. Okay, a couple more here, and then we are wrapping this one. Ability to append and prepend middleware priority from the application builder. Ollie Reed again, contributing another low-level change that allows you to append and prepend middleware priorities to the application. Sorry, not priorities. Append and prepend middleware priority to the application builder. So this allows you to access the ability to add middleware after or before methods on the kernel. So let me take a look here. If you're using Laravel 11, you know that you have like the bootstrap.php, which is where you configure a lot of things that were previously configured in a bunch of different service providers, right? Or different files like kernel.php, and there was a HTTP and a command one, right? Or a console one. Well, now inside of that bootstrap.php with middleware is one of the methods, the Fluent methods that you have in there. And so now what you can do is you can append to the priority list or prepend to the priority list, passing in your items, and it will, put them in the stack in the correct location. So there you have that. Nice. Last one here. Force HTTPS method. So what this will do is this will enforce the HTTPS scheme for URLs. So if you don't want to force it for the entire application, which you can do, you can just force it. Let me see here. Hold on. Simplifies enforcing HTTPS for URLs requiring such. This method accepts a Boolean, make it easy to force HTTPS for a given set of environments. Oh, okay. I thought you could do this before.
For environments. There was there's a force
because I'm using this actually. Yeah, force schema. Yeah, that's what it is.
There's force scheme, which allows you to specify HTTPS. This is explicitly to force HTTPS on a per environment basis. So there's a truthy, you pass it a truthy thing, argument to the force HTTPS, and then you can put in there, this app is production or this app environment is whatever.
That makes sense because
make sure that it's always set.
Right. What I was doing previously is I would wrap the force scheme inside of this check, right?
Yeah.
Would you if this app is production, then you would force scheme HTTPS. Yeah. So this just makes it a little bit easier. Okay, cool. Yeah, good enough. That is Laravel 11.31, everyone. Thanks for sticking with me on that one. Lots of other changes and release notes written up on GitHub, of course. Thanks, Paul Redman, for summarizing this one for us. Appreciate it.
Speaking of lots of changes, PHP 8.4 is now released with property hooks, class instantiation without extra parentheses, and more. We've talked about various features coming to PHP 8.4 for a long period of time. PHP 8.4.1 was actually released last week. There was a security issue that they found basically right after they tagged 8.4.0. So this is all out now. You can see the PHP 8.4 RFC page on the PHP wiki, which goes through all of the new features that were introduced. We've talked about these new array find functions. We've talked briefly about property hooks previously. One of the favorite features of a lot of people seems to be the ability to call methods on instantiated classes without having to wrap the new class inside of parentheses, which is reducing a couple of keystrokes and just tightening things up a little bit. There's the ability to create datetimes from Unix T-stamps, new multi-byte functions, asymmetric property visibility, which we have a dedicated article to that you can check out as well. Laravel Herd has already been updated to support PHP 8.4 as well. But if you want to get up to speed on the new features, check out the release announcement page for examples of things that you would do before and after PHP 8.4. And make sure also to check out the deprecations and backwards compatibility breaks. There's an upgrading guide. There's news about all of this stuff. We have links to everything for you in the show notes, including a PHP 8.4 preparation tasks page that releases the timeline for upcoming releases and things like that as well. So as I said, all of those links will be in the show notes, including this article by Paul Redmond on asymmetric property visibility in PHP 8.4, which we won't go into now because it is very code heavy, trying to explain
technical.
But,
yeah,
for sure.
Yep. 8.4 is one of those ones that I was waiting on. I skipped 8.3. I went 8.2 and was looking at 8.3. I'm like, meh, there wasn't really anything crazy in 8.3 that I wanted. But 8.4, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm going to make the jump. So, one of the things that you typically want to wait for is, I liked being not a late adopter, but not on the bleeding edge. You know what I mean? For the exact reason you mentioned, where it's if there's this big bug that needs to get fixed right away. And then also it takes a little bit of time for IDEs and stuff like that to catch up. But that is not a worry anymore because, as we all know, PhpStorm, best editor ever, 2024.3 was released and includes support for 8.4 as well as some awesome updates for Laravel developers. Let's talk about what those are. So the first one on the list here, if you're going to be using the latest version of PhpStorm, is that it now ships with automatic detection of Laravel Herd's PHP executable, which is really cool. So you don't have to go set that up manually. It knows about it, automatically detects that path for your machine's current Herd installation and the current Herd PHP version, right? So if you change it through Herd, PhpStorm will automatically detect that. You can configure the Herd interpreter from the settings. Also, if you happen to be using Pest, specifically Pest 3.0, PhpStorm has leveled up the testing experience for Laravel with full support for running parallel and mutation tests directly from your IDE. I have mine bound to Control-Shift-R. And now you have a couple new options. You can run tests with those mutation options right inside there. You can also run a group of tests in parallel by selecting the option when clicking the run button in the gutter of the file. You can run tests by clicking on the it or the test function directly. So if you're in the thing and you, I think, click it, it will go ahead and run that. You can also do a group of tests if you click the describe block. So we talked about this last time. Inside of Pest, you can use a describe block to say this group of tests is for this. And then in your output, it will say, here's the list of tests, and it'll start testing them, right? And you can do these nested describe blocks and stuff. So if you click that describe block, it will also allow you to run a group of tests in parallel from there. Pretty cool stuff. So it includes many PHP feature updates, such as refactoring to the new PHP 8.4 array functions, which is really nice. So if it detects that you're like, hey, this could be useful here, you're using 8.4, I can see you're using 8.4, and you could refactor to use this new way of doing it. It'll handle that for you, which is really, really nice. So you can learn everything about the new PHPStorm 2024.3 by reading their blog post announcement, which we will have linked in the show notes and on the blog as well.
Nice. On to the news. First up, the Laravel Black Friday deals. So these are Black Friday deals that, for whatever reason, span a week, a month, I don't know, either side of whenever Black Friday actually is. But it is that time of year again, and you can save massive amounts of money on everything from training courses to complete Laravel applications. This year, as in years past, we've compiled a list of all the hot sales from our partners and listed them below. First off, the list is Laravel Specials. Larajobs has $100 off any job listing through December 2nd using a coupon code Herd Pro. I have picked up my early renewal for 30% off, and Herd for Teams is 33% off. We've also got 20% off any swag orders from the Laravel News swag store. So check that one out. Beyond Code has savings on Tinkerwell, on Expose, and on Hello. And then there is a whole bunch of other stuff from friends and community members all about the place. Vue.js certification has a Black Friday offer. Tobias Petrie has an offer on his book. JMac has got some bundles. He's got subscription discounts for the everything plan for Laravel Shift. There's the Shift shop as well. I believe that is geographically special. I think US only shipping at the moment, but there's some cool t-shirts available there. You can also get 10% off client engagement with Curotech, DocuWriter, Otherwise, Laravel Security, Filament Flow, Rapid SAS, Dev Dojo, Larafast, Sassy Kit, Backpack Fly. Look, I could keep going. This is only a third of the way through the list. There is so much stuff here. Be sure to check it out. As I said, I've already picked up my Herd subscription, renewed that for the next year. I've also, after, 10 years, 12 years now of being a Laracast subscriber annually, finally committed to the lifetime subscription, because I was looking around at some other learning materials recently, and I don't understand how Jeffrey offers the lifetime thing for even $2.99 at the regular price is a steal for what you're getting, considering the cost of some of the single discipline, single topic courses out there. It is just wild how much value you get out of Laracast, the different topics. There's over 3,000 videos now, so check it all out.
Yes, it is wild.
Have links to all of that stuff in the show notes, of course.
Very cool. This last week, November 15th, so I guess a little bit longer than a week ago, 2 weeks ago, about Eric Barnes, our fearless leader, met up with Chris Morrell to discuss the resurgence of PHP meetups post-COVID. So really they talked about the creation and the growth of PHPX, which is this new initiative to revitalize the local PHP meetup communities. So Chris created the first one in Philly, and then Joe Tannenbaum shortly afterwards in New York City. So this is like that, PHPX Philly, PHPX NYC, and there's a whole bunch of them now too, right? So I think he's got a site out there. I'm trying to think. Yeah, it's PHPx.world. Yeah, and if you head on there, you can see any of the different meetups that are on there, and then you can actually also ask to be an organizer of one of these meetups, and he'll put you on the list, and they'll actually build the site for you. Essentially, they just create a new little template for you there, and it'll they can either link to a page that you already have created, or they have a really nice little page that they'll create for you. So like PHP Adelaide, for example. I know the guy who probably got that one. It'll link to like your Blue Sky. It'll link up to like a Discord if you have one, and then a newsletter, those sorts of things. And so pretty cool stuff, but neat to see those coming back around. I was looking to see if there's any around here. There's one in St. Louis and in Chicago, both. And so pretty neat. So check that one out. It is a video that you can watch on YouTube. I believe it also is on our, it's also available as a podcast, the Laravel Creator Spotlight series. This is episode 16, so you should definitely check that one out. Thanks, Eric and Chris.
Nice. Laravel Forge has added Statamic integration right into the control panel. They announced this as a first-party integration with Statamic. Statamic, for those of you who don't know, is a modern, clean, and highly adaptable CMS that can run full stack, headless, on flat files or databases, and as a server-side generated tool. Statamic is built as a highly extendable, standalone capable Laravel CMS package. And if you're already a Laravel developer, you'll feel right at home extending core features with models, service providers, and middleware. You can even drop it into an existing Laravel application to add a full CMS in seconds. With this integration, when you add a new site in Forge, you will have the option to just choose Statamic. You can choose the starter kit you'd like to use, and it'll set everything up for you. So it's a super quick and easy way to spin up a new Statamic application on your existing Forge infrastructure, or a new server if you wanted to spin one up there. Absolutely fine. I know that Marty Friedel, who is a friend of mine, has spoken at the last two Laracons AU, does a lot of stuff with Statamic, and he's publishing a lot of content. He put out like a plugin for Statamic the other day that allows you to use Blue Sky as like the comment system for your articles, your blog, whatever in Statamic, which is a cool use case as well. So we'll have links to all of that stuff for you in the show notes.
That is really cool, actually. Speaking of easy things to get started with, Sentry is amazingly simple to get started with, especially if you also happen to be using Forge. So now Statamic has an integration with Forge, super easy to get set up. Sentry also has a really easy integration. So if you happen to be using Forge to deploy your servers and you're looking for an error monitoring service, Sentry is the easy choice. Here's some items for why you might want to choose Sentry. It can help you quickly identify Laravel performance issues and view full end-to-end distributed traces to see the exact poor performing API calls and then surface any related errors. It also gives you the complete stack traces that allow you to see local variables in the stack for your production errors, just like in your development environment. This is huge when you're trying to track down the source of the problem. You can explore the full source code content directly from within the error itself. You don't have to go dig back into your code. You can see it right there in the error monitoring service. You can filter and group Laravel exceptions intuitively to eliminate noise, and it also can expose the important events that led to each Laravel exception. What were the network requests? What was this SQL query? What are the debug logs? What was the post errors? You can see when the error first occurred, how many times it has occurred, if there has been an owner of the code that changed it last, and if you want to assign it to them. Really, really great stuff. And for right now, you can get it free for 5 years if you use the promo code Laravel News. 5 years, Black Friday. Just kidding. You can't really. But you can get a promo. You get 2 months for free. Use the Laravel News code. Definitely go check it out. Thanks, Sentry.
Out of control. He's gone off script. Let's talk Laravel packages before we get ourselves in trouble. Warden is a Laravel package that performs security audits on your Composer dependencies and provides automated notifications for vulnerabilities. With your CI pipeline automation, Warden can help you promptly identify and address issues. So if you've ever used, I think it's the Composer audit or Composer outdate, there's a command that you can run in Composer directly, which will tell you these things. Warden is a package that supports webhook or email notifications. So you can schedule this up in your CI and it will send reports with the affected packages, affected versions, and more from the Composer audit command. And all of this is triggered from the Warden audit artisan command. The documentation includes configuration and setup steps required to install a package, as well as instructions on incorporating it into your CI and CD pipeline, which you can find links to in the show notes.
Very nice. Dependabot is also available on GitHub if you happen to be using it. It will do a similar thing. I don't think it'll give you emails in the case that there's a problem. That might be the only issue there, the difference.
No, it
but
just gives you
a
million pull requests with package updates.
Exactly. Yeah.
And a sea of inevitable merge conflicts trying to fix it.
Yes, exactly right. Well, we've got another package here that allows you to access Laravel Pulse data as a JSON API. So the Pulse API package by Robert Galea gives you all the data available in Laravel Pulse as a JSON API. So it defines two API endpoints for getting Pulse data. That is API/Pulse and then API/Pulse/type. So the endpoint works with the following metric types provided by Pulse, which is servers, usage, queues, cache, slow queries, exceptions, slow requests, slow jobs, slow outgoing requests. So if you need any of those items in JSON format, you can now get them really easily using this package. Very cool. Thank you very much, Robert.
Muddle is a PHP package to hide and safeguard emails from bots, allowing you to obfuscate emails in PHP and Laravel. This package can be used in any PHP project and also includes convenient components for Laravel. So you can use the xmuddle link blade component, pass it an email address and a title, and it will generate for you some obfuscated values in your code. So it will return, gee whiz, this is it wraps all of this inside of a span with some JavaScript that then munges all of this stuff. So if you're worried about, email addresses being scraped off of your website and things like that, and then being spammed to, this will use a cipher to then muddle it all up, as the name implies, and send that out into the UI of your application. So you can learn more about this package and get full installation instructions and view the source code on GitHub. We'll have links to all of that in the show notes. It is written by Makosh. There you go. Makosh is the name. Mokosh.
Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. Well, hey, if you are needing DTOs, and DTO, I always get mixed up between the two of these. Data transport object or domain transport object, or neither.
Data transfer object.
Data transfer object. Everybody sort of knows what I mean when I say DTO, but then when they ask, what does that mean? It's so funny when you have junior developers and they're like, well, everything you say, they're like, well, what does that mean? And you're like, dang it, sometimes I don't know. You know what I mean? Data transfer object. What does that mean? Why would you need that, right? Well, if you want to, instead of passing unstructured arrays around your entire application like we had to do 5 years ago, maybe we didn't, maybe I just did, then you should use data transfer objects. So this PHP data model package provides a lightweight, non-invasive way to hydrate type-safe PHP objects recursively. So it uses reflection and PHP attributes to hydrate objects and instantiate them based on type hints. So in the example here, they have an address class and they have a user class, and both of them are using this data model attribute. Nope. Hold on. It'll come to me. Don't say it. Dang it. You said it. Trait. It's been a long day. It's 12:20 right now. Trait, the data model trait. And then you just specify, hey, here are the properties that I want on these particular DTOs, right? Then you say user dodop from, and you pass an array. And what it does is it will use those array values to set the values in that class that you had previously defined. As well, it will infer the type of things based on the key that is set in that from. So in this key example, for instance, you have a key called address. Because you have an address object that is using this trait, it will pick it up and will automatically take that array and create that DTO from that array value. So that's what it means when it says it does it recursively. So it uses reflection to do that. So main features here. It simplifies object hydration. It ensures type safety so that you can trust that your objects contain the expected types without extra validation. It reduces defensive program where every spot that you're in, you have to check to make sure that your data is sanitized and that each property is there. It also allows you to do flexible value resolution. What does that mean? Well, you can use an attribute, a #describe attribute, which allows you to control how values are resolved for each property, like with transformations or default values or custom casts. So that ensures that your data model behaves as you would intend it to. And then it's also non-invasive. It doesn't crawl its way through your entire code base. It's just simple. You add the data model trait to your class. That's it. No need to extend base classes or implement interfaces. You just keep your class hierarchy nice and clean. It also includes features like required properties that are enforced via that PHP attribute. So you can describe the particular property on the DTO, and then you can set rules that say this should always be here. This is a required field. Really nice, really clean. He does mention at the bottom here, Paul Redman, that there are additional related packages that provide helpers and factories and transformers and more. But you can get started with this package by reading the documentation. It is available at 0to prod/data-model on GitHub or in the show notes. Cool stuff.
Yeah, I like it. There's lots of different ways to do DTOs, whether you're doing just like popos, plain old PHP objects, just very simple, and depends on the requirements. Like if you don't need to do serialization to from arrays, passing things around and whatever else, you might just use simple PHP classes. Sometimes you want to do, as in this instance, recursive hydration and resolution and things like that. And so a package might make that a bit easier. And then you've got like things at the heavier end of the spectrum, like Sparsy's Laravel data, which do, TypeScript transformation and all kinds of stuff as well. So it's nice to have options at different levels of the spectrum there. So definitely check that one out if DTOs is something that you are into. Into the tutorial section now, we have just two for you this week. First up, I want to welcome Harris Raftopoulos to the Laravel News team. He announced on, I think, X the other day that he is now on the staff writers for Laravel News, so welcome aboard. First one here is handling default values in Laravel Request using the mergeIfMissing method. So we'll leave that one with you to check out. And next up, we talked about this at the top of the show, the new mail build method in the mail facade. Harris has also written about using the dynamic mailer configuration in Laravel with that new functionality. So kudos to Harris for number one, joining, and number two, getting a couple of articles out into the world. But that is it for us for this week.
Very, very nice. Love it. Okay, folks. Well, hey, this was episode 227. You can find show notes for this episode at podcast.laravel-news.com/227. If you liked the show, rate it up in your podcatcher of choice. 5 stars would be absolutely incredible. And if you have any questions, hit us up on X at Jacob Bennett, at Michael Dorinda, or at Laravel News. You can find us at the same places on Blue Sky as well if you're into that thing. All right, everybody. Till next time, we'll see you later. Happy Thanksgiving.